Hey everybody, welcome to the Enhance Your World show. Today I'm going live solo. My name is Chris Alba. Larkin unfortunately was unable to make it today, so we're gonna move on anyway. And today I'm really excited about the show that we're going to be talking about. Of course, you can log in and chat with us live. Feel free to post your questions, comments, concerns. I'd love to be able to address them and talk with you. So feel free to join in on the conversation through our Facebook or YouTube page. So let's get to it. So today we're going to talk about um, walking in integrity in between the realms of consciousness, of the form and the formless, of matter and spirit, and how it all works, and how we can be the best version of ourselves, be our highest vibration of ourselves, um, in all realms, in all dimensions, in all timelines. There is a big fad right now on healing and raising your vibration, and that's lovely. We should all be inspired for personal growth and development, not only for our own lives, but for our collective humanity and our planet, our natural planet, whatever you choose to call it. That's totally up to you. um, Behind me, I've got this banner, this tapestry that's got the two snakes on there. The yin and the yang, the interweaving of do what seems to be dual, but is actually non-duality because it's always showing up in our present moment, our now. That's the continuous um, portal that we all live in. And what happened to us earlier today, what happened to us yesterday, and since the moment that we were born into this physical realm, are thoughts. And we can store thoughts, of course, in our body. And that's where there's different healing modalities, different techniques and tools, and meditation, somatic work, breath work, tantra work, shamanism. There's so many ways to work on our energies, of both mind, body, and being. And when I say mind, body, and being, what I how I interpret it is mind is my identity. It allows me to sense dimensions, time, space. Body, of course, is the physical sensations, the physical body, and those are all interpreted by our mind. And then our being, and our beingness is, I would say, our authentic self in the moment. And that fluctuates. That fluctuates based on um, what we're thinking about, what we're currently feeling, our actions, our behaviors, all those different things go into affect not only ourselves but beyond ourselves. If we are each a pebble in the ocean of consciousness, then we all cause ripples. And when we are coherent with one another, in integrity with one another, those ripples will get stronger. But when we're out of alignment, when we're out of integrity, when we don't follow through with things that we say we're going to do, or we aren't growing, then in harmony, then those waves will cause destruction, and they'll weaken each other. So the goal, I believe, for us as individuals and as collective humanity, is to learn how to find acceptance because acceptance allows us understanding. It allows us to grow beyond what we thought or what we felt or what happened to us physically. A lot of us carry around these pain stories, these trauma stories of what's happened to us in the past. And it's great to be aware, but at the same time, we have to also be aware of how it's limiting us from being our creative best self. And moving through that takes stillness, and that's why meditation is such a great practice. Why, breath work, can be a great practice. Somatic exercises and tantric exercises such as shaking or ecstatic dance and things like that can be beneficial and helpful for us to move through some of that stuck energy. If we have sore muscles or things and we're not being super physical, chances are what's causing that is some kind of energetic block. And it could be from this timeline, this life, other lives, and generational trauma. It could be all those different things. As far as I'm aware of, because those are the teachings. That's what we know. So, hey, what's up, Benjamin? Thanks for checking in on us, man. I appreciate you being here. This is a groovy little show here, and we'll get to talk about a lot of different things. So thanks for checking us out. I appreciate it. And so going back, trying to capture my train of thought because I just lost it. But being present is the most important thing, because when we're truly present in the now moment, we are unified, mind, heart, body, which equals our being, our vibration, if you will. And that allows us to build relationships, connect with relationships beyond the personal identification story of where we've been or where we desire to grow. But those are also necessary, because, if somebody's wanting to live in a certain vibration in a certain way and we don't want to, then there's going to be some conflict. There's going to be some challenges. It's also going to be an opportunity for us to experience unconditional love and acceptance, which, I think is one of the greatest things that we could, as a humanity, work on. Having more money, more man-made stuff can help us in societal standards, but not in our true nature. And one of the books that I've been working on reading here recently, it's a pretty interesting book. It's called Awakening: The Unity of the Outer and the Inner Worlds, by Ivan Antic. And it talks about the cool thing about this book that I really enjoy is it talks about quantum, which is the new sciences are out. Is no different than the Akashic records. It's no different than the ether. They're just different labels. And when we learn to find unconditional love and acceptance, we can find deeper understanding than the conditionalities of the words that we use, of what we think we know. Because if we're always in that place of well, I believe this, and if this is absolute truth, then we project that forward. And our ego doesn't like to be wrong. It doesn't want to make us wrong. It's there to actually protect us and allow us to walk in this physical world. So more than likely, it's going to stay consistent. What I've found in my journey over the last 20 years of my own personal healing and working with other people as well, it really comes down to universal laws. Universal laws such as, growth and unity and unconditional love and love energy and the love reconciliation and those types of things, because they're big picture. Um, and the details are specific to that specific experience. To generalize our humanity, I think, is a disadvantage, because everybody is special, everybody is unique. They all come from with their own perspective and their own perception of things. And if we generalize, we don't really get to gain the understanding of an individual. But it does allow us to move faster in the fast-paced societal world of things, you know, because there's commonalities in culture, there's commonalities in business, there's commonalities in our personal relationships. We enjoy doing the same things. So, um, you know, you never want to take someone on a 5-day hike that doesn't enjoy nature. Nobody's going to have a good time. So those things are important to know as we're walking through this timeline, this present now, and into the future together, of where we've been, but also what are we open to experience. The growing trend of plant medicine ceremonies and things like that are really cool. And the reason I think they're really cool is it allows us to get outside of the boxes of norm of the cultural standards. We can have our own experiences, and it allows us to see beyond the veil of our everyday life, and allows us to release things a little more freely, a little more openly. We can re-experience our past in our present moment and be able to work energetically to release that stuff. So I think that's an important or a positive method to do things, to get beyond the mind, to really be able to tap into higher consciousness. And the challenge being then is how to integrate that into an everyday experience, because we can't be using substances every day to alter our state of vibration and think that we are actually in control. We're giving our power away to the medicines, to the crystals, to the tools, to the techniques. And again, it's good for eliminating the ego, but the ego will always be there. I've worked really hard personally over the last 20 some years at changing my ego story, my identity, the way I show up in life, not only for myself, but for other people. And I've shared on this podcast some of my experiences of how I've been negatively impacted by, the government or by, other people. But I was very cold and very, very damaged in my early years. I would even go as far as saying that, I was pretty, I vibrated really in narcissism. I was very self-centered. I was very self-focused. I really didn't care what happened outside of myself, as long as it didn't affect me. It was when it affected me that it got real for me. And that allowed me, going through a lot of those experiences, allowed me to really self-reflect and understand that the only commonality between all the things that have happened in my life was me. And if I wanted things to change, well, then that was on me. Not who I associated with, not who I idolized, not who I, victimized or who victimized me. I was sharing a story the other day with a client, because, when people give you compliments, it feels good, right? And I like the Dalai Lama's story on that. When someone criticizes you, remember someone who's praised you. But if somebody praises you, remember someone who's criticized you. Because that's how you stay grounded and how you stay humble and how you stay balanced. So I was sharing the story anyway of, I had a pretty traumatic and abusive upbringing. I was highly sensitive. My parents didn't know how to handle my creative nature, and I was the black sheep of the family. At least that's how the story goes. And thank goodness my grandmother loved me as much as she did, because she was pretty much the safest place that I had growing up, to have someone to talk to and share my thoughts and my feelings and what was going on with me. And it still came from a very judgmental, her responses came very judgmental. It was could be very harsh. But I knew it came from love. And before her passing, I shared with her Gauge, which is my coaching program, Gauge Your Life, and the philosophies behind it. And she was really a huge supporter of me doing this work and walking this path. But anyway, getting back to the story, growing up, I didn't have a great relationship with my dad. In fact, there was an opportunity, or there was a time when I was a teenager. I was under probably 16. I don't think I was driving at the time. And this has come up for me a lot here lately, because it's allowing me to heal it, and that's why I'm sharing it with you. And I want to be as transparent and as open book as possible. I'll share my successes as well as my failures, because they both got me here. And it's easy to talk about your successes and what you've done right. But anyway, my dad was in the living room, and I was getting ready to go out with my friends, leave the house, and he fell down holding his chest, thinking he was having a heart attack, and asked for my help. And I looked at him and I said, well, maybe you shouldn't have been such a prick to me. And I left to let him die. And at that time, I didn't feel bad about it. I didn't feel wrong. I was so closed off. I was so hurt that I was willing to allow another human being to suffer and die, because I didn't want to feel my feelings. I wanted to be closed off. I wanted to be a hard ass. I wanted to be, who they told me to be, this punk kid. I haven't thought about that for a really long time. And I'm sorry. And I'm so grateful that he didn't die. And I'm not saying it fixed our relationship by any means. It made it a little bit worse, because it's given him the story and the opportunity to see me in a light where he distanced himself. And, I know he hangs on to the stories of when I would rage and say, how much I hated him and how I wish that he wasn't my dad. And as a father, I couldn't imagine the pain, because what I can't imagine is the pain from, my son not always wanting to hang out with me, right? Because he wants to play video games. He wants to do his own thing. He's 13. And he's in that stage where he's learning himself. And luckily for me, I understand not to take it personally, you know, and be able to connect on his level, and be able to hold space, you know, and encouragement, and also discernment, you know, and you know, give them some wisdom, some insights, you know, that will hopefully help them later in life. But that's what I think we're here for, not just for our kids, but for each other. You know, imagine what this world would be like if we held the door for everybody. We smiled at strangers as we walked by them, wish them a great day, bless them. You know, I know this is one of my practices that I practice on a daily basis, and it is amazing the people you get to meet and the stories you get to hear, and the connections that come from that. You know, in my early teenage or later teenage years, after I dropped out of high school at 17 and got into sales and business, and in my 20s, you know, I consider myself a networker. I knew all these people, and I still know. I mean, I know so many people, but I don't know a lot of people. But I do know a lot of people because we've had really deep conversations. We've bared our souls to one another. We've shared our shadow selves and the scary stuff and our fears and our insecurities and our hopes and our desires. And, you know, to me, that's beautiful. Like, that to me is like, that's what we're here to do. You know, it's not just to build another profitable business. It's not just to sell another product. It's not just to have another successful event and, you know, sell a bunch of tickets and make a lot of money. In fact, Pachamama doesn't give a fuck about that, right? Our only our humanity uses money. That's why we say our pets are great examples of unconditional love, because they love us without us having to pay them, you know, and buy them things and, you know, all that. You know, of course, we got to keep them alive and care for them. But they're going to love us regardless. You know, that's what I love about dogs, you know, especially if you treat them nice, you know, is how affectionate they can be, how excited they are to see you, you know, especially if you've had a bad day and they come up, nuzzle up with you and, you know, just snuggle with you, you know, how that vibration helps us as individuals. And, you know, I think a healing and growth are always present in our present moment, of course. And the important part is awareness. It's being able to identify, you know, oh yeah, I'm in a bad state right now. And I shouldn't even say bad state. I'm in a lower state. I'm having a tough day today. You know, maybe I've got some past regrets on my mind, or maybe, you know, something didn't work out like I was hoping it would, or, you know, I got in an argument with somebody or whatever, and I'm just not being the best self that I can be. Well, it's good to be aware of that, because you can shift that, and you shift that through your mindset. You shift that through shifting your energy, and that's always done in the present moment. And that's why it's such work. It's such a task to stay present, because it's so easy to lose yourself in the mind, you know, in the stories. And, oh, well, that person deserves to be treated that way because they did this to me or did this to somebody else, you know, 5 years ago. And that's, you know, that's relative truth. But where are they now? How are they being now? Have they grown, or are they continuing on that same path? You know, and I think that is a great discernment of, you know, who to let go out of your life and who not to, because, you know, we can all be destructive. We can all go through challenging times, dark nights of the soul. We can go through addictions. We can, all those things. And sometimes we do have to give people space and distance. As a way to protect ourselves, as well as to give them an opportunity, for them to have the self-realization that everything in our lives is our responsibility. How someone treats us is a reflection of how they feel. How we respond and react to that, well, that's on us. And I know I'm not perfect. I practice imperfectly, sometimes, and sometimes I'm in the right space and the right vibration, and it all works out, and maintain beautiful relationships and friendships, and for decades, and all that kind of stuff. The ebb and flow, but sometimes it doesn't happen. So, um, talking about the unity of our inner and outer world, right? So our outer world is the manifestation of our inner world. Our thoughts, feelings, and projections create our reality. So, to be able to shift the outer world, because we all want peace, we all want happiness, we all want bliss, that has to come from the inside out. And when we do that, when we come from a place of that, then we will start seeing it on our outside. We will start seeing the changes. Last year, for example, I was in a relationship, and my dad yelled at my mom. And it happens, right? And she went off about it. Like, aren't you going to say something? Aren't you going to stand up for your mom? Aren't you going to? And I said, no, it's my job to accept him where he's at and accept my mom where she's at. It's my mom's job to speak up for herself. Because if I was to speak on behalf of my mom, he's not going to shift for me. He's only going to shift for himself. And he's going to shift for my mom. If she chooses to set boundaries and they choose to work on it together, that's something that they can do together. But what I've learned through my journey is it's hard to change yourself, let alone change somebody else. It's nearly impossible to change somebody else. So you have to change yourself. And so, why I said that was I have to learn to accept and unconditionally love my father for who he is. And that's even showing up in ways that I don't want to follow his model. I don't want to follow his role. I don't want to follow his lead. I don't want to be that guy. And I work really hard at not being that guy. Not to saying sometimes I can't lose my temper and yell. And I can tell you, personally speaking, from my own judgment, based on my past, that I've gotten way better at it over the last 5 years. My first marriage that lasted 22 years, and we split up because we weren't living similar lifestyles anymore, and it just wasn't very harmonious anymore. We wanted to live differently from the way that I was moving towards more of the healing spirituality, eating organic and going vegan, and doing water fasts, and living that type of meditating, and being out in nature more, and those types of things. And she just wanted to go to work and come home and make a meal and hang out. Which is fine. We just weren't in vibrational alignment anymore. And that's when we knew it was time to let go. And, we still co-parent my son, and things were lovely. So I would say that we could always have a better relationship. But that's my judgment, I accept it as it is, and I'm grateful for her for what she's doing for him and for our lives together. Even though that they're spent separated. So awakening, right? Awakening always happens in the present moment. I personally don't think it's like you're awake and then you never fall back to unconsciousness. I don't think it's like that. I've had some different ascensions and initiations and things like that were crazy wild. And if I share the story, I don't know if you would believe it, and unless you've gone through a similar experience. Um, but at the same time, I'm constantly learning new things. I'm constantly the story I just shared about my father. I hadn't that hasn't come up for years, and that just came up recently. So now I'm like, oh, this is the thing that I get to pay attention to now, and this is the thing that I get to work through now, and this is the thing that I can learn to forgive myself and for him, and forgive him for the way that I did grow up, because I knew he loved me, but I also knew that he wasn't in control of his life, and that frustrated the heck out of him. So when I added frustration, his emotional cup would spill over. It's not a justification by any means. It's just an understanding that it happens, and I've done it too. So I highly recommend this book. Again, it's The Awakening, Unity of the Outer and Inner Worlds by Ivan Antic. Um, it's a little thick. You might have to read it a few times. And I'll read you the back description real quick. The quintessential motive of human aspirations towards knowledge, culture, and science is rooted in the concept of awakening. Despite the foregrounded pursuit of knowledge and scientific discoveries as an independent goal, the notion of awakening is often regulated to a spiritual context, primarily observed in Buddhism. However, it is pivotal to recognize that awakening is the fundamental impulse of human life and the progress of humanity. It is needed today more than ever. This book elucidates the multifaceted dimensions of the awakening process, encompassing psychological, spiritual, cultural, and the deepest laws of physics. The crux of awakening entails comprehending the veritable nature of consciousness and existence, unifying them seamlessly. The dual aspects of awakening involve understanding the consciousness within oneself and the world around. So the inner and outer world, right? From a psychological perspective, awakening pertains to discover one's true nature, essence, or source of self-awareness. From a physical perspective, it involves discovering the deepest basis of existence, from which all natural law emulate. Pure space, Akasha ether, or the universal quantum field. Just as space encompasses all entities, starting from subatomic particles to atoms, molecules, and physical objects, consciousness is equipped to fathom all objects. Consciousness is an analog to space, encompassing all entities and becoming cognizant of every content. This book proffers concrete evidence that space itself is consciousness. Space is conscious, and the entirety of existence is conscious, denoting that this consciousness is our essence or soul. That is why logic of awakening is very simple. People are not awake and conscious only as long as they believe that the entire existence of nature is unconscious. So, yeah, good book. And good mind candy. Gives you something to talk about. Gives you something to do. So, heck yeah. Check it out if you want. You can get it on Amazon. So, but it's really understanding that everything has, in my viewpoint anyway, that everything has information. Everything holds consciousness, and that allows it to be a form in this physical reality as we know it. A rock has consciousness. A blanket has consciousness. And it allows it to be the color and the shape and the feel and all those different things, because it informs us through our senses, which are electrical impulses. That's pretty cool, right? So anyway, does anyone have any questions, comments, concerns, anything that they would like to share? Any questions? I think we're not gonna go the full hour today, because it just doesn't serve its purpose. So if everybody is feeling full, thank you again for viewing this live. Thank you for those who view this on the replay. Again, we're going to do this. We do this every Tuesday. We're going to change the time starting next week, which is, I believe, the 12th. I believe is the next podcast, which is next Tuesday. And that we're going to start going at noon, at 12 o'clock. As you can see on the little banner down there, it says that. So, task for you today, I guess. Larkin's so good at giving people homework and things to look at. Check out this book. Check it out. Learn more about awakening. Learn how to grow beyond the confines of what you believe, because that's when I believe we awaken. When we get to learn beyond our personal story, or learn beyond what we've been conditioned and taught ourselves. So until then, enjoy life. Continue on, my friends. Gotta live life, man. So continue on. Enjoy it. Experience it. All of it. The good stuff, the bad stuff are just the duality, polarities, and life happens in between there too. So thanks so much for tuning in. Again, I'm Chris Alba, Enhancing Your World Show. You can check us out on Facebook and on our YouTube channel. You can subscribe if you like this. So I look forward to talking with everybody next week, and see you next week. Bye-bye.